I feel like the more we consume, the more we hurt the planet and hurt the environment. So, and it's a never-ending loop.
Artists' Ideas Now talks to artists about the most pressing questions of today. This 8-part series is talking to artists from Egypt and of Egyptian heritage about climate, crisis, environment, protest and change. My name is Laura Marie Brown and I'm creative producer at Liverpool Arab Arts Festival and host of this series. Tarek is renowned for the giant murals painted in public spaces, whether in their hometown of Alexandria, in 2011 during the revolution, and most recently in countries including Brazil, the US and Geneva. Aya's constant pursuit of finding new ways to engage the public and a drive for artistic independence has taken them from canvas to murals, digital art to 3D motion graphics, feature films, and creating Egypt's first art collection for an NFT marketplace. Aya trained in visual and fine art, but didn't see a space for themselves in the traditional arts community. They explain why.
When I went to the spaces, the gallery spaces in Alexandria and Cairo, I felt like there is nothing new. The same people go to the same spaces. People who have money and can afford to collect artworks go there, meet each other, have coffee or wine or whatever, and check out the paintings. And I like this for my living room. I like this for my bedroom. I like this for the summer house. I felt like, what is this? It's a bad copy. It's a bad replica of Western art. And I was like, this is not how it should be. It should be like exciting. It should be relatable to everyone, especially for young people. As a young person, I was not going to start collecting to hang paintings in my wall, you know? So what was relevant at the time was the work of Banksy, which was very inspiring. I was like, wow, this is totally new. This is visible for everyone. And I felt like this is relevant. This is now. I have to do this. So I gathered a group of friends from the academy and we started working on the attic of my grandfather's shop. We were doing stencils like Banksy style, and we used to go down and just spray them in noon, because at the time there was no, I'm talking 2008, there was no knowledge of graffiti at the time in Egypt. So people thought, oh, it's cool, they're beautifying the streets. They did not quite understand what this is, and people were like very peaceful with it. They used to invite us for tea and stuff and celebrate it somehow. Of course, this changed over the course of the next few years, but at the time, yeah, it was very, very good, and people were happy to pass by and recognize the pieces and try to figure it out and take photos. And at this time, social media was also starting to boom. So we had a page, like a very old Facebook page, where we used to upload the photos of the pieces we used to make. And it gained a lot of traction because for Egyptians, this was very, very new, and I got known for it.
You've touched on it a little bit there, but why do you think street art in particular is important in Egypt? When you do something in the public realm, it has a very different relationship with the public than something that you put on a gallery wall.
Yeah, because the public, especially in Egypt, they don't have this culture of going to exhibitions and checking out artworks or checking out exhibitions. So for them to go to work and see this every day was introducing culture to them and introducing art to them without them having to go to a place where they feel out of place and not fitting. Because as I told you, it's a classist system. A certain class go to those places and they feel welcomed in those places. If you're a worker and you go to a gallery, the gallerist is gonna snub you. You go in and ask you a lot of questions. this is how it goes. But I'm just putting, like, you put the street art out there for everybody to see, and it's very it's free for everyone, judgment free as well.
Do you think what's the sort of obstacles that you think you sort of face as an artist, and does street art circumvent that? You talked a bit about it, the sort of classist aspect, but what about in terms of, getting funding or other sort of societal pressures?
Okay, so when I started, I was doing like we don't have a legal stance on graffiti, but the thing is, when I was starting, it was like something that we wanted to do, and we've done it. But as you grow older and you have bigger ideas and better ideas you want to introduce, and it has to be somehow protected. You have to be somehow protected and safe in the street while doing it. It costs a lot of money actually to produce a piece of street art. So in terms of funding, it's been really a struggle to find entities willing to fund such projects inside of Egypt. So I've been unfortunately doing a lot of pieces abroad where there is like ways to fund this and ways to finance this. But in Egypt, even like private entities, they don't look at art as a primary thing. They look at it as a secondary thing. So whenever there is a crisis, like right now we have the devaluation going on, the first thing you cut is the art department, the artworks, everywhere in the world too. Like you see the funding of art and culture is being cut, the first thing. So for people, they think it's not a priority for some reason. So it's the same here, and also the same everywhere. I can notice, like after the pandemic, there was a lot of setback on cultural production. So I used to get a lot of projects before the pandemic, and then when the pandemic happened, it was just like the world changed, especially the cultural world. It's not a priority anymore.
Do you think that, thinking about that in the context of your own work as well, and the added difficulties that faces, how do you think that impacts on your independence as an artist? Does it become sometimes harder when you're looking for that funding, when you're thinking, who am I going to get to pay for this work? Do you feel that impacts on how independent you feel?
I had this question for sure since the beginning, since I started, but also the artist has to be flexible. So I was accepting commercial work whenever I can, because this gives you independence in time and your own agency over your work. So if I'm working and I'm doing like commercial work, this can sustain me for a bit till I find the right circumstances to do certain projects, certain artworks that I'm not forced to do something I don't want to do, or take certain amount of money and produce low quality work. No, this gives me agency over myself. So I'm pro actually commercial work. I'm not against that, and I feel like artists need to be also flexible to do multiple disciplinaries at the same time. You have to be flexible. You have to learn a lot of things. You have to have a lot of things in your toolkit to survive as an artist, because doing one thing is not enough. If I decided to be, okay, I'm a street artist, or I'm a painter, or I'm this, or I'm that, it doesn't work. You have to be an overall entrepreneur, business person, and you have to have financial knowledge, how things work, how to manage money, to be a complete institution, which is really hard, but you can get help after. But you need to have the knowledge, how things work, how money works. I think it's very important.
Yeah, when you're an artist, you're your own marketing department, you're your own HR team, you're the CEO, you're the cleaner, you're every layer of the business. Your latest exhibition, Token, Egypt's first art collection for an NFT marketplace is about consumerism and capitalist tendencies, which are two of the major issues when we're talking about the climate crisis. Tell us a little bit about that exhibition and what inspired you to make it.
So I was developing ideas for this exhibition and the exhibition before it during the pandemic, because there was nothing to be done. Just sitting at home thinking about, oh wow, what am I gonna do? And of course, I'm scrolling through Instagram, which completely, the format of Instagram squares in my feed just completely took over my mind at the time. So if you notice, or if you've seen some pictures of the artworks, it's all in like square format. And the more you search for something, or the more you talk about something, for example, I'm sitting with my sister, I'm talking to her about like stoves, for example. I see stoves everywhere in my feed. I see stoves in ads, in Google ads, everything, stoves. So it's a surveillance and you're focusing on it because you're sitting in the pandemic doing nothing but this. Completely took over my mind, especially that I started cooking in the pandemic and I was trying to make the perfect steak, and then my feed was all meat. It's all meat. And the thing is, meat is very bad for the environment. That's what I learned. And the more we consume meat, the more the environment is being affected, you know? And so I feel like the more we consume, the more we hurt the planet and hurt the environment. So, and it's a never-ending loop, you know? You consume, you ruin the planet you're living in, you want to have better resources, so you consume more, and so on and so on. So this obsession got me in touch with this consumerism craze at the time, and I started working on a series of paintings. But also, I was very curious about NFTs because, as I told you, I like to be resourceful and know about a lot of things and have a lot of tools in my toolkit to sustain myself as an artist. But what's funny also that I learned that NFTs is very bad for the environment as well, which is sarcastic and funny at the same time. The way we advertised also for the exhibition was very interesting because we made a propaganda that's commercial propaganda. We made an overload of posters everywhere. We worked with a PR agency that was advertising this exhibition everywhere. It was ridiculous. People were annoyed. They were like, well, I've never seen an exhibition being overhyped that much. And it was intentional because why not? Okay, you overhype bad series and bad things. Well, I'm gonna do this with an exhibition. So yeah, it was an interesting experience, and also working with a production company which made things like easier, Bisaria for Arts, and working with a big team also gave me the freedom to just focus on my work. So I'm really grateful for this experience.
You're from Alexandria, a city that could be underwater by 2050.
Yes.
What do you think is the artist's role in sort of talking about that, raising the profile about that? You know, this series is about the artist's response to the climate crisis and the artist's role in talking about the climate crisis. What do you think about it?
It's very, very critical that everybody, not just artists, like focus their effort to maintain the CO2 levels as it is and bring it lower. For me as an artist right now, I'm working on an exhibition called Waking the Giants. It's going to be an off exhibition for COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh. This exhibition actually has a very interesting story. I met with a jazz musician, a Swiss jazz musician called Simon Peterman, and we're talking last year when I was preparing for Tokyo. He told me, that the glaciers melts uh, in Switzerland will come and drown Alexandria in 2050. And I was like, this is very crazy. It's very interesting. And then we started talking about rising sea levels. And of course, we don't have much information. He's a jazz musician and I'm an artist. And we decided actually to do something together because of this connection that we figured out. And we started talking to scientists from the University of Zurich, and they agreed to work with us on collecting data on climate change since the beginning of the century till now. So they made presentation, we collected data from them. We took this data actually and we worked on a process called sonification. Sonification is turning data into sound. And we worked with the data journalists actually from London to help us sonify the data to turn it into sounds. And in my work, the visualizations, I took these visuals, took this data, and I actually connected the concept to the biblical, Quranic prophecies about the end of time. How those books imagine the end of time. And I gave those phrases to an AI artist. He's not an AI artist, he's a machine learning artist, he's a coder, and we started developing animations based on those prophecies, on the collective memory of the apocalypse of Earth ending. The reason we want to do all of this, like connect data, science with art, and also with the collective memory of how people imagine the end of the world in biblical books or in Quran, especially in a place like Cairo or a place like Egypt, where people are still connected to religion. It's just to give a step that's a missing stone, between science and religion, and what people believe are going to happen. People who are religious believe that this is going to happen this way, and what's actually happening, and what science is saying this is going to happen. Because if you talk to someone and tell them, Alexandria is going to drown in 2050, they're going to tell you, no, it's not going to happen, blah, blah, blah. It's very far-fetched. They don't believe you. So we had to find a way to give the evidence for everything, but also to maintain the artistic integrity of the project. So it's a complete thing. And it was not an easy process, to be honest, but I'm really proud of what we've done so far. And I also feel like if art is bridging the gap between science, because the scientists are so good, they're good people, they have the data, they work really hard, but to get their work published or acknowledged by the media, this takes forever. You remember this movie, Don't Look Up, how people were perceiving their words and how it was really like ridiculous because they don't have the means to communicate with the audience. But art is very attractive, visuals and sounds and sensory mediums are very human, and it can deliver the message in a much simpler and an attractive way to the audience. So we thought this is the best way to deliver the work of those guys who are working really hard to the audience. And we found that the COP is a perfect opportunity to do that. And I hope it goes well.
Artists' Ideas Now is produced by Liverpool Arab Arts Festival in collaboration with Artists on the Frontline. This series was supported by The Space and Arts Council England, with funding from the National Lottery. The producers are Laura Marie Brown and Zoe Lafferty. Executive producer is Sarah Fortescue. The series music is by Yara McAway and is called Feed on Wasted Energy from her LP 1963. For more information on this series and to find out more about each of the artists featured, go to arabartsfestival.com and explore the reading list for each episode.